2018 has been a rough year for the US military, with a record-setting number of crashes, accidents, and sadly, fatalities. It has a lot of people in the defense and intelligence community scratching their heads. Is this simply a reflection of underfunding for basic maintenance? Or are we experiencing covert acts of aggression by a foreign actor who has a skeleton key to our military backbone? Let us explore 10 thoughts on the recent US military crashes. Number 10. Let's do this branch by branch. The Army. In August 16th of 2017, 5 soldiers were flying in Hawaii on a Black Hawk helicopter off the island of Oahu. Around 9:30 p.m., the helicopter lost communication. All 5 are presumed dead. In April, another crew member was killed and 2 others were injured when another Black Hawk helicopter crashed into a golf course in Maryland. In January of 2018, 2 soldiers in Colorado died when an Apache helicopter crashed at the National Training Center in Fort Irwin. Then in April of 2018, 2 more soldiers were killed when an Apache went down at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The press releases for all of these events were shockingly similar. All of them are still under investigation. What will be next? Number 9. Naval Aviators. Top Gun is one of my favorite movies, and Tom Cruise was a naval aviator in that film. But they've had a rough go of it in the past few months. Like the 3 sailors who died in November of 2017 after their C-2A Greyhound crashed into the Philippine Sea. The aircraft was supposed to transport sailors to the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier. Although 8 personnel managed to be rescued, 3 perished. Cut to March 2018, 2 naval aviators are killed when their FA-18 Super Hornets crashed near the Naval Air Station in Key West. A marina owner who witnessed the crash said the Hornet jet caught fire mid-air, then crashed. There's no question that the exponential growth of military crashes is something to be alarmed about. At what point do these clusters of military crashes become something more than mere coincidence? Number 8. The Air Force. In April of 2018, the U.S. Air Force lost a Thunderbirds pilot, a legend, in a crash with his F-16 jet outside of Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. Major Stephen Del Bagno was killed when his F-16 Fighting Falcon crashed over the Nevada Test and Training Range. The crazy part is this crash was the 3rd of a U.S. military aircraft that week. A Marine Corps CH-53E Super Stallion helicopter crashed during exercises in California that day, killing 4 crew members. Also that week, a Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier jet crashed in the East African nation of Djibouti during a training exercise. The pilot ejected and is said to be in stable condition. The number of American service members killed in non-combat aviation crashes has risen sharply, a 95% increase in the last year. Number 7. The Marine Corps. Last July, 16 Marines and 1 sailor were killed when their KC-130 crashed in Mississippi. In the wake of that incident, the Marine Corps grounded those planes and blamed a mechanical issue. In fact, an eyewitness to the crash says he heard a loud bang while working in a field near his farm. The plane spiraled nose down to the ground, and one of the engines appeared to be trailing white smoke. Then in August, 3 Marines lost their lives when their Osprey crashed off the coast of Australia. And then last month in April, 4 Marines were killed when their Super Stallion crashed near El Centro, California. Clearly, something is going on. But is it possible that hackers were actually responsible? Consider that the FBI had issued an alert about a new North Korean cyber tool designed to penetrate critical infrastructure. Number 6. Chinese lasers. Chinese military personnel, according to media reports, are now targeting American flight crews in the skies over the African nation of Djibouti, which amounts to a new level of Chinese harassment of the U.S. military at a time of heightened tension. There have been 4 incidents over the past few weeks at Djibouti. They involved a military-grade laser that appeared to be coming from a logistics area on the Chinese base. In one of the most recent incidents, 2 American service members piloting a C-130 turboprop experienced minor eye injuries after being exposed to the laser beam. Military officials confirmed there have been an undisclosed number of incidents involving lasers within the U.S. Pacific Command. Is it possible these lasers could be responsible for this recent spate of crashes? What is going on? Number 5. The USS Fitzgerald. The Navy ships themselves have been crashing, it's not just the aircrafts. Since January, there have been 4 serious incidents involving ships in the Pacific. First, in January, the USS Antietam ran aground near Japan, damaging the ship. In May, the USS Lake Champlain was struck by a South Korean fishing boat. Since then, the problems have grown more dire and more deadly. On June 17th, a cargo ship hit the USS Fitzgerald, rupturing its hull and drowning 7 sailors. And then, there was a recent collision of the McCain with a tanker near Singapore, where the hull was also gashed. There's one thing everyone can agree on: collisions between commercial ships and the most sophisticated warships on Earth are clearly unacceptable. Some say our ships have fallen victim to an electronic hack pioneered by Russia. Number 4. GPS spoofing. On June 22, 2017, the U.S. Maritime Administration received a bland incident report from the master of a ship in the Black Sea, saying that his GPS was completely off, putting him more than 32 kilometers from his actual location. After double-checking his equipment, he also reached out to the airport and other vessels nearby. At least 20 ships were affected. Todd Humphreys at the University of Texas at Austin has been warning about GPS spoofing for years. In 2013, he showed how a super yacht with state-of-the-art navigation could be lured off course. Many experts say the Russians are spearheading this new form of electronic warfare. In fact, the recent popular game Pokemon Go exposed that in Moscow, right around the Kremlin, anyone who goes there is relocated 32 kilometers away to Vnukovo Airport. Could they be the one jamming our ship's signals? Number 3. Microchips. In the book Ghost Fleet, a novel of the next World War, authors Singer and Cole simulate a sneak attack by Russia and China on the US. Spoiler alert, they hit Hawaii. But the scary part is they do it by compromising our military hardware, by supplying defective microchips. The first microchips in the 60s had all of their components visible to the naked eye. But as every chip got smaller, they started to become divided into multiple subunits called blocks. And whereas the microchip industry used to be a few small players, when it took off, more than 2,000 companies, most of them in China, were creating 5,000 new chip designs every year. The result was a dangerous combination. The chips were so complex that no single engineer or team of engineers could understand exactly what's on the chip. Have the Chinese put a Trojan horse backdoor into our military hardware? Some experts say yes. Number 2. Billion-dollar busts. So how bad is the problem? Well, in January of 2018, the $12.9 billion USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier experienced a propulsion system failure. So basically, the US Navy's newest multi-billion-dollar nuclear-powered aircraft carrier appears to be a bust. And that's not the only high-profile failure of expensive US military hardware in the past few months. Consider the $23 billion Zumwalt-class destroyer. The Zumwalt's price tag, approximately $23 billion, and for that, the Pentagon will get 3 ships. But sadly, when crossing the Panama Canal recently, the Zumwalt lost complete power. Its propulsion system, driven by an electric motor, just died. Again, is this a mere coincidence, or are electronic hack attacks a new weapon for our enemies to even the playing field? Number 1. Jumping the air gap. Many military experts say there's a clear and simple explanation for all of these Navy ships and Army planes and Marine helicopters crashing all around the world. It's because China, Russia, and North Korea have closed the air gap. In fact, many retired intelligence officials say that the NSA has developed technology allowing it to hack into computers that are not physically connected to the internet, i.e., jumping the air gap. If you take a cybernetic view of what's happening in the Navy, you don't need someone to put a thumb drive into a computer on board in order to compromise the system. Just like the Stuxnet virus in Iran, many experts believe that countries like Russia and Israel have the capability to compromise US military hardware. In other words, the whole game has changed. If it's true that countries like Russia and China have the ability to jump the air gap, then does that mean that most of our military equipment has been compromised? Some say that World War III will look more like Battlestar Galactica, where recommissioned ships with very little electronics will be called back into service in order to defend against an invasion. If you enjoyed this list, subscribe to Decagon and join our growing community.